Good morning, everybody. My name is Kai Basu. I'm CTO of Kovair. Today I have with me Atnu Majumdar. He is Kovair's VP Engineering. Today our webinar topic is Managing Requirements, Tests, and Issues with Kovair ALM Studio. Being the architect of this product, I think there is no better person than Atnu to present and demonstrate the product with respect to managing the ALM lifecycle. But before that, I'll start with a brief presentation to give you an overview of Kovair and ALM Studio. At the end of the presentation and demonstration, we'll open it up for a Q&A session, and you can pose your question using the little chat window you will see at the bottom of the GoToMeeting panels. And please feel free to send us those questions so that at the end of our session, we'll be very happy to answer those questions. So let's start with the question, what is Kovair? Kovair is a box of a number of different applications, both in the areas of application lifecycle management, or ALM, and IT service management, or ITSM. In the ALM side, we have the requirements, test, issues, release, risk, etc. And on the ITSM side, we have the service request, incident, problem, change, CMDB, knowledge base, service catalog, etc. And all of these applications are delivered as a 100% web-based, web-architected application, so perfect for a 24/7 global access. The second component of Kovair is its process engine. Actually, Kovair is one of the very few application lifecycle management tool which has got a built-in workflow engine, and you can create multiple processes for each of these built-in applications using a drag and drop visual designer. As a matter of fact, you don't have to write a single line of code for any of these processes. Let me give an example. For example, requirements management, you can create 3 different processes. One for the approval and review workflow, another for implementation and testing, and the third one may be a change management. Actually, Kovair's workflow engine is one of the most powerful process engines in the market today. The third component of Kovair is its integration technology called Omnibus. Using Omnibus, you can integrate any third-party development tool, as well as you can integrate your own in-house tools. And since it is based on web services, these tools and applications can be running on any kind of platform, whether it is Windows, Linux, on Mac, or Sun, or a mainframe, anywhere in the world, even behind the firewall. And since it uses enterprise service bus architecture, overall development effort, cost, and time, as well as maintenance effort and cost, is substantially lower than any other integration technology, typically which are point-to-point. The last component of Kovair is its platform capability, which basically means you can create your own applications using Kovair as a platform. And these applications are as powerful as any of the built-in applications. As a matter of fact, the built-in applications are also created just by using Kovair platform capability. And what is really great is you can actually create these applications just by drag and drop. You don't have to write a single line of code. You don't have to script or any of these things. Moreover, your applications will be process-enabled using Kovair's OmniProcess, and you can integrate other tools and applications using Kovair's Omnibus technology. Now let's look at the different products of Kovair. Basically, Kovair has 3 products. One is ALM Studio, our focus today, which is basically managing all aspects of application lifecycle management. Then we have ITSM Studio, which is really ITIL version 3 implementation using Kovair. And the third product Kovair has is the Omnibus integration middleware. As a matter of fact, you can use any of these products just standalone or mix and match between any of these products. As a matter of fact, our ALM Studio and Omnibus integration middleware together can give you the largest ecosystem today of all the different third-party vendor tools. Also, you can create adapters for your in-house tool to create end-to-end ALM application using various different tools. So let's quickly go through the ALM application functionality, and you will be able to see some of these things in Atnu's demonstration and later part of today's webinar. You can capture a number of different what we call the entities, like the requirements, test issues, from diverse sources. Of course, you can use the application itself to create one, but you can also get it by importing from Word or Excel or a text file. Also, you can submit it using email, or you can submit it through web pages. Our descriptions of different items, whether it's a requirement, whether it's a test, can be plain text. In some of these cases, that's good enough. But in many of the cases, you need a very rich description. So we have a rich text editor for submitting those rich descriptions. As a matter of fact, you can even have a copy and paste from Word document, preserving all the formatting, embedded images, etc. Kovair has a very powerful versioning, cloning, and reusing capability. We have got some unique features like the version diagram. We can do the branching and merging of versions, both graphically as well as textually. And also we can do the version comparison, so you can show that how things have changed over time. When you have thousands of items, and believe me, sometimes you have really thousands of requirements of hundreds of thousands of tests and issues for a very large project, you need some easy way to quickly focus and drill down to only those items, maybe 5 or 10 items, which you are interested in right now. So Kovair gives you a number of different tools to do that, including the views and filters. And we also offer you document view, which actually allows you to see the items in a document-like format with all the descriptions in rich text directly seen on the browser. As I mentioned, that Kovair's one of the biggest advantage is the built-in process, so you can actually create multiple different processes for each of these different applications, requirements, tests, issues, etc. As we all know, traceability is one of the most critical components of any ALM system. And Kovair is very rich in traceability. We have a number of different ways of creating traceability as well as managing and viewing them. And these traceability are between the, for example, between the same entities, items like requirements. And what is more important, that you have the traceability across the entities as well. So you can have the traceability between the requirements and tests, between the test and issues, etc. And we have a number of visual ways of looking at it, like the traceability network diagram, the traceability metrics view, as well as very powerful textual way of looking at it, like the hierarchical traceability views. And you can do the both proactive and reactive impact analysis using traceability. Kovair also has this baselining capability, and in a single baseline, you can actually include multiple items or multiple entities, like the requirements and tests and issues for each of these baseline. And baseline typically correspond to a release. And then you can compare between the baselines. Collaborative requirement ranking is actually another very interesting feature of Kovair. And as a product manager, often we face the problem that when we have a number of requirements coming from different sources, to determine that which requirements are more important. So Kovair actually gives you a collaborative way of determining that, so that you have a much better, reliable result coming out of number of people's different ratings. Kovair can create a number of different kinds of reports, including Microsoft Word documents, and these are very well formatted using your user-defined formatting, and this can be MRD, marketing requirement document, or test compliance documents, etc. Kovair also has a very colorful dashboard built in, so you can create a number of different graphical and textual metrics reporting, whether it is about the requirements, whether it is about the test coverage, the code coverage, the test run results, all sorts of different kinds of graphs you can put. And what is really interesting is that these graphs are all in real time, which basically means that every group of users, depending on their roles, they can actually look at those graphs and see what is really happening at this moment. And finally, Kovair ALM Studio can be integrated with a wide range of tools. And these are from third-party tools, and we have, as I mentioned, we have the largest ecosystem. As a matter of fact, one of our customers is actually using it today for a very large production system. About 6,000 people are using it with 14 different tools. Talking about the different integration adapters, so these are different adapters available, and as you can see, in every different phases of development, multiple tools are available, and this is actually a growing list. So as we talk, we are developing more and more adapters. Kovair are delivered at two ways. One is on-premise as a perpetual license, typically for very large companies. That is the model they typically follow. And we have got both named user license as well as concurrent user license. But for smaller companies, we also offer software as a service with a multi-tenant architecture, with a shared hardware and software. We can actually provide you the power of Kovair at a very reasonable, very competitive price. Let's quickly go through the Kovair value proposition. It's multifunctional, as we have seen that a number of different applications is in a single box, and that is what Atanu is going to show you. And that is one of the biggest value you can get, that each of these applications by their own right are very powerful and compete with any other point tool in the market. But when you have all of them together in a single box, that really gives you a great value. The process integration and the built-in process itself is a huge benefit because there is no other tool you have with this kind of process capability. As a matter of fact, if you want to buy a separate process management tool, that itself will be more expensive than Kovair ALM Studio, which includes process itself. You can enhance your current tools. We actually do not ask you to replace any of the tools. As a matter of fact, if you already have, let's say, a bug tracking tool you're already using, you don't have to use Kovair's issue management system, which is part of the ALM Studio. We can integrate with your bug management tool, like Jira, for example, and seamlessly it will be integrated as if you are really using the Kovair's issue management system. But we do not ask you to replace any of the tools, and that is one of the biggest advantage of Kovair. That is the biggest value it brings on the table. And finally, using Kovair, you can create your own business applications, which are as powerful as any of the built-in applications. And these are all process-enabled, as well as you can integrate with other tools. These are some of our customers, and as you can see that we have a wide range of customers. I was talking about one example of using Kovair for a large ecosystem of tools, and that is Infosys. As a matter of fact, using it. Some of you may be familiar with the name. Infosys is a very large Indian service company, and they are in production today with 6,000 users with 14 different tools, which over the next few months will increase to 15,000 users with 24 different tools. So far as we know, this is the largest ecosystem of tool integration today in the market. So today's product demo, what Atanu will be showing you is he'll be submitting a customer requirement from web portal, and also he'll import a set of function requirements from Word, conserving all the formatting and everything what is in the Word requirements. And also he will link those function requirements to the customer requirement. And that will actually give you an overview of the Kovair process, as that particular customer requirement will follow a predefined process. Then also you will create test cases and link it to the requirement, then execute the test cases, which will automatically generate an issue whenever a test case fails. Then he will show you a number of different kinds of traceability reports, as the traceabilities are created either automatically or manually. And then finally he will show a number of different dashboard and reporting. Okay. With that, let's go to the product demo. I don't want to take any more of your time because I know that that is the most important and most interesting thing, which is the product demo. All right, Atanu. So I'll switch it to you. Just give me a second. All right, you are on now.
Thank you, Sky. Hi, everybody. Good morning. So as Sky mentioned that we will start today's demo by submitting a customer requirement from a portal site. So as you can see, this is the, the Kovair contact page, and you can see a link here, customer requirement submission. So let's click on that link. And now you see a web form which is built using web service API provided by Kovair. So this portal form can be customized as per your corporate settings and colors and stuff. And this is an example of kind of using our Omnibus web service API. And this is a two-way API, meaning if you see this, the requirement type, the field values, the lookup values, these are coming from Kovair. So it's not just submitting the requirement from this portal site, but also retrieving values from Kovair. So let's start adding a customer requirement here. So customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio web inner. Okay. Let's put the author, John Wright, say Acme Corporation, and let's keep the requirement type as customer. This is request type, new feature. Maybe we can put the priority as high, and then put a description for this. And then let's kind of add these requirements. So now this requirement is submitted to Kovair. Now let's see how this customer requirement triggers its lifecycle process within Kovair, and how the follow-up requirements are designed, the test cases are prepared, test cases are executed, and the defects are getting generated within Kovair using the features of Kovair. Okay? So now let's get to Kovair. So this is the Kovair login page. Kovair is a complete 100% web-based application. That means all the application and administrative features are available on the browser. We do not have any client application. And also, unlike other tools which may use ActiveX controls, and that's why those tools are difficult to deploy in a large-scale enterprise for security and other purposes, for our case, we do not use any ActiveX controls. What you need is a browser, and Kovair is compatible with almost all popular browsers like IE, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and others. Okay? So now let's log in to Kovair as a project manager, Mary. So I'm putting Mary's login credentials here. So you can see this is the dashboard page for Mary, and just a second, and you can see here the different dashboards reporting for requirements, tests, and issues. So we'll discuss the dashboard page later, but let's concentrate on this particular pie chart requirement distribution by type. So these graphs are real-time generated and active elements. So if I click on this pie chart, let's say on the customer requirement, you see it shows all the customer requirements, the 105 items. Now if I reverse sort it by ID, you can see that the customer requirements that we just submitted from the portal site shows up here. Customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio webinar ID is 236. So this is a real-time data you're getting on the dashboard. And these dashboards could be different for different stakeholders in ALM. Like for Mary, this is the dashboard. For tester, it could be different. For developer, it could be different. Or for the QA manager, it could be different. Now let's explain the header bar here. So you see the projects, requirements, test cases, issues. So these are the different entities defined for this workspace, and Mary has access to all these different entities. You can see a clear case file entity, which is a proxy entity to an external tool. So as Sky mentioned, that our tool can also be integrated using our Omnibus framework with several external tools like SCM tools, ClearCase, Perforce, CVS, and all these things, and also IDEs like Visual Studio and Eclipse. So all these the external tools shows up here as proxy entities. And I can see the task. The task is a built-in object in Kovair, which basically represents the unit of work that any developer, project manager, or tester can work on any of these entities. So at a time, multiple people can work and have different tasks on these different entities. One other thing is here you can see the different workspaces. So workspace is a single secure box for different kind of applications that you can define. So here we are, for today's demo, we are using the new app development workspace. Now let's get to the My Tasks page for Mary, which is basically a task universal task inbox for Mary, and she gets to see all the tasks that are assigned to her from different workspaces. So you can see some of the tasks are coming from the workspace new app development, some are coming from AMS legacy, and different other projects. Okay. So now let's look into the first item in this list, which is the customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio webinar review and link. So this task has been generated for Mary automatically, and it is in her inbox. So let's get to this task. So now, so this is the task detail page. You can see this is for this particular requirement that we just submitted. Source item is requirement, customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio webinar. What is the activity that Mary needs to do is the review and link. And these are the owners. You can see Otanu and Mary and Sky. And this is queued. So any one of these project manager can own this task and do his or her part of the job and complete the task. Okay. And also you can see the instruction here, what Mary is supposed to do. So Mary is supposed to please associate a project and functional requirements to this customer requirement. So she needs to basically decide whether she wants to approve this particular requirement, and also if she decides on that, then she needs to create the functional requirement to implement this customer requirement and link it to this particular customer requirements. Okay. So let's say for this, Mary needs to basically create a functional requirements Word document, and then she needs to import that into Kovair. So for that activity, let's log on to a separate server. Okay. So this is the document that, let's say, Mary prepared. And you can see this is the document, and there is a table of contents. These are the different requirements with rich graphics and text for different requirements. Okay. So now let's say we want to basically import these into Kovair. So Kovair has a kind of add-in built on top of Word. As you can see, Kovair menu is shown here. So if I click on that and start the wizard, now I have to log on. By the way, this add-on also using a web service URL. So you should be able to basically use this word add-in from anywhere, even outside the firewall. Okay, so let's log in as Mary. So, so now remember that we have shown the different workspaces that Mary has access to. So we need to select that workspace here. So let's select new app development, and then it opens up the wizard. So we have already selected the workspace as new app development, and I can kind of import from for any entity. For now, we will do it for requirement, and let's get to the next page. So this is basically where you define the parse logic. So you can either parse for the title or the description. We have chosen to parse for the title, and then the parse formula could be either using the keyword like shall, it get me all the kind of text, using different kind of keywords like shall and others, treating them as requirements, or you can choose the delimiter like start and end, or you can choose a style. For now, we will choose a style, and we will select TOC1, and then we add that as a parsing logic. In fact, you can have several parsing logic, not just the style based. You can simultaneously have kind of define one based on keyword, one other based on delimiter, another based on style. Now also, you can also even kind of get the hierarchy, which is kind of defined within your Word document here. So that's why I selected this maintain hierarchy, and then let's move to the next step. So now these are the different fields that I can choose to pre-populate. So let's say for now I choose priority, priority flags, requirement status, type, request type, and source. Okay. Now let's get to the next, and I can set some default values for these. Let's say for priority I choose high, for priority flags I choose green, and then the requirement type I'll choose that as functional requirements, and let's leave all the others as it is. Now let's get to the next page. So now what it is doing is based on the parsing logic that you have selected, it is parsing the document and finding out the requirements. So it has already done. Now let's move to the next step, and it is now showing all the kind of requirements that have been parsed, and showing it in a grid view with the different field values. If you want to change the field value for certain particular requirements, you can do that. You can even see the requirement for, so let's say this is one particular requirement which has been parsed with the images and stuff. Okay, so let's now close this, and now what we want to do is now get these requirements into Kovair. So let's get to the next step. And so what it is doing now is now getting these records imported to Kovair. So this is done for now. So let's finish this. So Mary is now done with importing all the functional requirements into Kovair. Now let's go back to Kovair now. So see that we opened up this task which Mary is supposed to do, and the instruction was to associate a project and functional requirements. So now let's kind of associate some functional requirements. Okay, so let's go to relate existing. Okay, and let's filter by all functional requirements. Okay, so now remember Sky was mentioning about the document view. So this is the document view, and you can see, so these are the requirements we just imported from Word, and it shows up, and also you can see the images along with the text and font and all these things are imported within Kovair. Okay, so now for let me kind of get it here. Okay, and let's select some of the requirements. So let's say this one and the next one. Let maybe choose another one. Okay. Now we have selected some of the functional requirements and linked it to the particular customer requirement. Okay. Now you see, so this is showing up here as the kind of linked requirements. So the other thing that Mary needs to do is associate this particular customer requirement to a function, to a project. So for now, we will choose the new app development, and also she has to say whether she is approving these or rejecting or more needs more info. So for now, we will approve these and save it. Okay. So now Mary is done as per the instruction with this task. So she will now complete the task. Now we can see that that task is no longer in her inbox. So that task is now gone from her inbox. So you can see that Mary, as she logs in, she gets to kind of see this particular task which was in her inbox, and she was supposed to do some activity on that, and she has completed that. Now that is no longer in her inbox. So she is not bothered about how this task got to her inbox and where it is going to. So this is completely transparent to the user, but in the back end, a process is running to generate these tasks one after another. Okay, so for your benefit, let's open up the hood and see how this process is running in the back end. Okay, so let's go to the requirements page and see. This is a process view, and you see that this particular requirement, number 236, customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio webinar. This is the requirement that we just submitted. And let's get to the workflow for this particular requirement. Okay, so let's just make it a bigger, slightly. So you see, this is a Visio-like drag and drop workflow designer that Sky was talking about. And this is not just a designer, it has the logic inbuilt. So it's a Visio-like design, but it has the logic inbuilt, which is kind of moving the requirement from one step to another, assigning tasks to people. So you can see some of these boxes are green, some of the boxes are blue, and some are black. So the semantics for the green one is that that particular activity is already done. As you can remember, that Mary has completed the review and link activity, and that's why it is green. And all the links that you saw green is basically, that is the path that is approved. Since Mary has approved it, it has kind of traversed this path and created these two activities, one for the architect and another for the tester. These are the blue ones, okay? And the black ones are not yet traversed. And so this is, as Sky was mentioning, that this is a drag and drop. You can kind of create this kind of workflow very easily. And for today's demo, this is just a kind of simple workflow that we are demonstrating here, but this workflow can be customized as per your organization need. Now, as you can see that the next task is for the tester to create the test case for this particular requirement. So let's now log on as the tester, okay? So Terry is a tester, and let's log on as Terry. So now you see that Terry's interface looks different from Mary. The color is different. The entities that Terry has access to make different. The Terry locks on to the My Task page. The dashboard would also be different. We'll get to the dashboard later. But you can see now that Terry has a task in his inbox, which is associate test case for this particular requirement. So now let's get to this particular task. So again, you can see that this task is for the requirement, customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio, and the activity is associate test cases. So what is the instruction? Please create and link the test cases for this requirement. Okay. So let's get down, and we see a section for linked test cases for this particular requirement. So let's now create a new test case. Okay, so this is the test case form. By the way, these forms are configurable. So all the kind of forms, fields, entities that you can see here are all customizable by the user. Your administrator can create different forms, and the forms can be different for different people also. The same item could be seen in different forms. So for now, let's put a title for the test case. So let's say test case for customer requirement for ALM Studio webinar. Let's put the author as Terry Tester. Okay. Now let's create the test steps. So create new. So I'll put is step 1 and description 1. And you can also put the expected result. What do you expect? Result 1. Okay. Now let's set this. So step 1 is created. Let's create another step. Step 2. You can see you can also link a test case as a step. Description 2, and then put the expected result 2. And now save it. Okay. So I have created the test case with 2 steps, and now let's save it. So this should now, so now Terry was supposed to basically link some test cases to this requirement. So he has created a new one, and you can see that this is the 424 test case. It has not been run yet, and you can also relate an existing test case. So if I go to relate existing, and so you see that these are the different test cases. So I can even choose some of them, say 419, okay, and say done. Okay, so now we have created a new test case, associated another existing test case. So now Terry is done with his task. So he will complete his task. Okay, and the task is no longer in his inbox. So again, Terry kind of gets to see the task in his inbox and completes the task, and he is no longer kind of interested for the next part of it, where it is going and things like that. It is completely transparent to him. But again, we can see that what is the process for the test case. As the test case got generated, so test case for customer requirement for ALM Studio webinar, you can see this also has started its process. So let's kind of open up this process. And you will see this is a different process. So as soon as the test case got generated in the system by Terry, it has started its life cycle, and its process is different. Okay. Also, if I go back to this the requirement process and I refresh it, you will see that now the associate test case, this has become blue, because that was the next task for the tester, and since Terry has completed it, it becomes blue. Okay, but the architect is yet to basically finish his job. So this process can kind of go on like that. Now the architect can do his part of the job. He can log in and get to see his task, do the kind of design, and the developer can do the development, and then ultimately we can go to test execution. So let's go to the test case list once again. Okay, so you see that this test case, and now I would like to execute this test case. So execute this test case. So it opens up a test run form with pre-populating the title and the steps and stuff. So now I need to check it. And for one another point I would like to kind of say here is that this is a manual test that I have created here, but it could be an automated test case. We have an integration with QTP, so you can create an automated test case from QTP itself and push it to Kovair, and then once this test case is within Kovair, you can now execute it automatically. It would run within the QTP, and the results should be pushed to Kovair. Okay, so for now, this manual test case, the first one, I have checked it, and I want to put the result. Let's say this is passed, and let's say the actual result is actual result 1, done. And the next one, I would like to kind of put it as failed, and so did not kind of pass. So this is the actual result. So I have kind of executed the test case manually and checked it, and I have put the result. Now I want to kind of save it. Okay. So this test case is now executed. And we have configured it such a way that if a test case fails, then it should automatically log a defect. So we will see that whether that defect is automatically created by logging in as a kind of quality manager. But before that, let me explain some of the features here. So you can see that the test sets here. So test sets is an entity where you can group number of test cases and kind of execute it as a whole. So that also you can do. So like say here, you will see this particular test set is containing 2 test cases. So one of them is failed, another is passed. So you can see all these information here. Okay, and also the test runs. Whenever you execute a test case, it creates the test run, and you can see the execution status for those test runs and the test run coverage. So maybe 2 steps were there, 1 failed, 1 passed, and those kind of things. Okay. Now let's log on as the QA manager and see whether we can see that defect that has been automatically generated. Okay, so see this is the kind of inbox for Thomas, and you will see this IQ 126, issue number 126, defect created from test case for customer requirement for ALM Studio. So this defect has automatically been created, and now Thomas can kind of go to the issues list. Will not basically go into the kind of activity mode, but let's see the process for the issue also. So see, here also you can see this is a different process for the issue, and as soon as it has been automatically generated, when a test case fails, this process has been started, and you can see it is with Thomas to review this and then kind of move it to the next step. Okay, so this is the kind of the workflow part of Kovair product, ALM Studio product, and as you can see from requirement, we have created the functional requirements and linked to it. We have created the test case, and the test case has started its life cycle, new process, and when we executed the test case, the defect is created, and defect has started its own life cycle process, and creating this activities and assigning it to people to do their own part of the job. Okay. Now let's go back to Mary's interface. Let me explain some. So let's go to the requirements list. Okay, and let's log in to these, get to the detail of this customer requirement. So now, as a manager, as all these activities are getting done by the developer and tester and the quality manager in the background doing the preparing the test cases, executing the test cases, how do I see it as a manager here from the standpoint of the requirement? Let's see those. Okay. So now you see this is the requirement form, and if I go here and expand the linked requirements, I should be able to see all those functional requirements that were kind of linked. Okay, so you see that. Now also, how do I see the test cases? Okay, linked test cases. So if I expand these, I can see the test case. The two test cases were associated with this particular requirement by tester, and I see one was run, failed, and the test coverage is kind of failed 100%. Okay, so if I run it one more time and if it passed, then the test coverage would be 50-50. So those kind of things. And another test case is there which is not yet run. Okay, so and also another thing I would like to show you is the relation diagram, which is a kind of a network diagram as Kai was mentioning. And so just a second, let me make it a little bigger. Okay, so you see this is the project item. This is the requirement item that has been kind of submitted from the portal side. Okay, and then we have kind of linked this the functional requirements, and these requirements are coming from the Word, and then you see these are two of the test cases, number 419 and number 424. And if I now double click on these, it shows that this test case has one test run done and it is associated with 2 steps. So I can see the whole traceability between the requirement, the test case, the test run, and see if I now expand the test run, I see the defect also. So I can see the whole traceability between the requirements, test cases, and defects, and this gives me a way to assess if I need to do a change on this particular requirement, what would be the impact on of that change. That we can assess it from here. Okay, so this is one kind of presentation for the traceability. There is another way we can see for the traceability items. So let's say this is the requirement, as you can see, and if I now expand it, you get to see all the requirements that are related to here, and then all the test cases that are related to here. And if I now expand the test case, this shows the test run that is associated with that particular test case. And now if I now expand that test run, I get to see the issue. So in one single place, I can see from the main customer requirement to the functional requirement, to the test case, to the test run, and then to the defect. And not only that, I can see what is the status of the test, whether it failed, and what is the status of the issue, defect, is it the process, and all these things that I can see. Okay? So now let's get to some of the kind of dashboard items. So as you can see that as a manager, I can see the different kind of reports, requirement stability. So how volatile the requirements are, how is it getting changed over the time. So this is that particular requirement. How is the test status for the requirements? So these are the test status. Within the high priority requirement, 10 are kind of failed, 4 are not run. So Those are the different kind of things. I can find out how many, whether the requirements are code covered already, and whether it is test covered, whether test cases have been prepared. The test cases, for the test cases, we can see what is the coverage, how many failed, pass, distribution, and then also I can see the issue submission trend. So how the issues are getting raised, what is the distribution of issues by status, and what is the type and status. Okay, so from one single dashboard, I can get to see the requirement items, the issue items, the test case items, the issues, their ages, and all these things. Okay, and by the way, these dashboards are all these dashboards are configurable. You can create your dashboard as per your organization need, and as I said, it could be different for so if I go to, let's say, Terry's dashboard, it is a different dashboard. So since he is the tester, so his dashboard is containing mostly the test items. Okay. So one other thing that I would like to show you is a Word document. Okay, so let's get to the requirement specification document. Okay, so this is, as Kai was mentioning, that we have a feature as a Word add-in where you can create Word template-based reports, and then you can upload those templates to Kovair, and then you can run reports like the one that I'm kind of generating now. So this is generated on the fly, and it's getting shown here. So this is a kind of requirement specification document. As you can see here, also there is a table of contents. You can update the table of contents, enter table, okay. And now, see, so this is the document that has been created with the requirements and with all the images that either you created within Kovair or you have got it from your Word file. All are getting shown here. And also, let me see the one that we have created. So see, the number 32, customer requirement from portal for ALM Studio webinar. So let's get to that. So this is the customer requirement that we submitted, and this is the functional requirement that we linked with that customer requirement. And then also, so this is the functional requirement, and then if we go down, we could see also the test cases. We have not put the description, so that's why it's not showing up here, but you can see the test cases. And this is, again, is your customized template. So you can create the template, the way you want to organize it, the different kind of links that you want to put, the fields that you want to put, but it's a nicely formatted report that would be created. So that more or less kind of completes my part of the demo. I would now give it to Sky for any questions and stuff. But as you can see that this is a very extensive product, and we have shown certain features today. We have not been able to basically show a lot of other features. So if you are interested for any particular feature, you can contact us and we can give you a specific demo for your need. Thank you, Sky.
Thank you, Atanu. That was really a blast of demonstration of our product, and I think we have covered quite a bit of ground. We have covered the requirements management, test management, issues management. Also, we have shown the different kinds of dashboards, reports, including the Word report, including the Word import during the requirements management. So I hope that that gives you a pretty good overview of ALM Studio. And as Atanu has mentioned, that if you want to drill down to a particular area of ALM Studio and would like to see more, we would love to do a custom demonstration for you. So please get in touch with our salespeople. You can send an email to sales@kovair.com or give us a call. The contact information is on our website, www.kovair.com. In the meantime, I'm sure that you have got some questions. I see a few of the questions are already there. So I would encourage you to use the questions panel at the bottom of your GoToMeeting sections there. And please pose or write your questions, and we'll be happy to answer. So the first question is about the pricing. Now, the pricing depends on a couple of different things, depending on the on-premise, the number of users, whether it's on-premise or SaaS, etc. So if you can send an email to our sales, either sales@kovair.com or send through the contact page of website, our salespeople will be happy to contact you and give it a custom pricing based on your situation. And as I mentioned, that Kovair ALM Studio includes not just requirements, test issues. Actually, we have some more entities as well, which Atanu has not covered today, like the risk management, release management, project management, etc. And basically, our pricing is very competitive against some of the other similar products in the market, which are actually much less functionally capable than Kovair, as well as pricing-wise also we are much better and more competitive than those products. Okay, so the second question is that, let's see. What is the integration with configuration management system? So this is actually, we have got quite a few configuration management or version control system integrations, starting with ClearCase from Rational. We also have, for example, Perforce, Subversion, TFS, which is a new one. As a matter of fact, Omnibus actually allows you to have multiple integrations simultaneously. So let's say you have a group who is using Perforce, another group is using Subversion. You can actually have this multiple integration simultaneously with ALM Studio, so that you can have the same requirements which is linked to the source code, one in Perforce and one in Subversion. So that is also possible in Kovair. Let's see, whether there is a possible to receive a copy of the presentation. Okay, yeah, sure, we can actually share it. As a matter of fact, what happens is that we link, we record our webinar, and this linking to the recording will be available from our website. So you'll be having the whole thing, not just the presentation, but also the demonstration. How does system gather requirements from email? Does email system have to be Outlook? How about Lotus Notes? Very good questions. The answer is it can be any email system. Actually, what we do the actual parsing of the emails. So it can be even Gmail or Hotmail. So we Kovair can actually monitor a particular email address. So if you send a requirement to that email address, Kovair checks that or rather parses that email using either POP3 or IMAP4, and then it parses that email for the title, description, and if there are any other fields. As a matter of fact, Kovair's integration with the email system goes just beyond that. You can not only can submit a new item, whether it's a requirement, whether it's an issue, whether it's a test case, whether it's a request, doesn't matter, but also you can actually participate in the process. So for example, the task can be sent as an email, and you can look at that email just like you have seen the task here, Atanu has shown you, and complete the task with all the inputs necessary on the email itself, and respond it back, and the process itself will parse that email and find out what is your input and how you have completed that task, and continue that process, just like what you have done through the browser. Okay, so the next question is, does the system interface with open source products such as Subversion? I just answered that question. Yes, it does. It, as a matter of fact, integrates with quite a few open source systems, starting from Subversion, of course. It does with Eclipse, with JUnit, and so we actually support quite a few different open source systems. does system interface with open source products such as Jira? Okay. Yeah. So again, that is the answer is yes. I think I mentioned that if you already have Jira, then you don't have to use Kovair's issue management system. You can, as a matter of fact, have continue using Jira and integrate with Kovair, and you can use the rest of the system in ALM Studio, like the requirements and test management, etc. Next question is about the IDE. So we integrate with Eclipse and Visual Studio, both of them. So the interesting thing is that the developers for, let's say, for IDE, like Eclipse or Visual Studio, they don't have to actually use the browser to see the different items of Kovair. They would be able to see it within their IDE, in the IDE window. Like the Eclipse window, they would be able to see their tasks, the requirements which are assigned to them, the issues which are assigned to them, and these issues may be coming from Jira. As a matter of fact, even if you do not have an integration with Jira with a particular IDE, you can actually see it directly from Jira to Eclipse, from Jira to Visual Studio. And of course, all the items in Kovair you'd be able to see from within the framework of the IDE. The next question is about can you do test estimation and risk-based quality management? The answer is yes. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned, that ALM Studio actually includes risk management also. So you can actually have a risk-based test management also. And also you can do the test estimation. The next question is, can we reuse the requirements and test cases? Yes, we can do that. I think in the presentation I mentioned that we can reuse system using our version diagram with the branching and merging, etc. You can do a lot of different kinds of reuse, as a matter of fact, and which is very unique to Kovair. I don't think there is any other tool where you can actually do those kind of things. Okay, I think that basically ends. I do not see any other question at this point of time. So thank you so much for attending this webinar. This is our, today actually we have got a webinar for the Asian and the Australian audience as well in the evening. This is for our US and European audience today. And we'll continue to do similar webinars in the future. And please keep an eye on our website for the webinar announcements. Thank you so much once again, and thank you, Apnu, for this wonderful demonstration. And with that, I conclude this webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.